What's up, guys? Long time no see. It's been a while. I have a little trouble making these videos now. I've just been so tired. It's hard to keep my eyes open. So I kind of found the time just a little bit squeeze in this video, which I was going to fill with a lot of negativity stuff. Just, me complaining about my job, politics, and everything else that was bothering me. But I think we got a lot of negativity in the world, so I'm not going to add to that. Anyway, what I am going to talk about is it's going to be a history topic. The Kingdom of Macaria. Yep, Macaria. But there's probably a lot of empty faces going, unless you guys know what I'm talking about then, I'm actually kind of fairly new to this kingdom myself. I had no idea who these people were. And, I studied the Byzantines. They're my favorite empire. And they were kind of connected, and I was like, I dug a little deeper and I found out why. And it was pretty cool, A lot of their buildings, I guess, shared some qualities to it, but anyway, let me go on here. So before I get into them, I should probably tell you who they are, where they're from. So they're an African empire. I guess today, in a modern sense, if you try to find them on a map, because obviously they don't exist anymore. Like northern Sudan, southern Egypt. So if you look on a map and you look at Egypt, so northern Sudan would be like, I guess, like right here. Southern Egypt would be right here. So it's like somewhere in this area. So find those two, parts of the country, and you'll know where this kingdom was. Now, why the heck are they related to the Byzantines? Why am I talking about them? Well, before I talk about the Macarians, I should, I hope I'm really saying that name right, by the way. Sorry if any, people favor that empire and I'm butchering their name. I'm apologizing. Anyway, Nubia. Kingdom of Nubia. We all know those guys. If you studied Egypt, you know about the Nubians, So, Nubians, aside from being from around the same place, same people, Sudan, uh, they were one of the first black pharaohs of Egypt, pretty much. They established a dynasty in Egypt and ruled it for some time. Then as time went on, they became more of, not just a backwater, because people get I guess, like the wrong impression because of the location. People are like, yeah, well, these people, what happened to them? No, they actually wind up creating like pyramids of their own. Yeah, if you get a chance, check out, Nubian pyramids. It's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, so they eventually kind of developed into these people I'm talking about, the Kingdom of Macaria. So, the connection with the Byzantines. So how, Byzantium would influence people, if not directly, they would try to do it through religion. It was very important to them. Orthodoxy, Greek Orthodoxy today, you know, Eastern Christianity in general, So first, I want to say, I guess, when they ventured in Africa, you could already kind of say they had like a head start, the Byzantines, on that continent, because you can't rule out Egypt. Egypt was not just conquered by the Greeks, Alexander the Great. You had the Ptolemies rule it for a long time, which was a Greek dynasty. The Romans, who brought their own influence in there. Then the Byzantines eventually got phased out. You had a lot of Arab, Arabian caliphates that were just indoctrined in Islam and doing their own little crusade and conquering Egypt and other parts of the Middle East and North Africa that were once Christian. They took it over for a Muslim cause. So there you go. but regardless, even today, there's still a big Christian influence, especially in Egypt. You have Coptic Christianity, which is like an offshoot of like Oriental Orthodoxy, Eastern Orthodoxy. You have a lot of Greek Orthodox still in Egypt, so there's still that influence. Then you have Ethiopia, which even though they're a little further away, they were they experimented in trade a lot. So once again, going back to the Byzantine influences, they were good at influencing people. If they couldn't reach them, they would send missionaries. So think of like traveling priests, pretty much. They did this with the Russians, actually. They baptized the Russians. That's why the Russians kind of feel like they're the spiritual successors of the Byzantines. So yeah, Ethiopia, um, another big entity in East Africa. Uh, Definitely kind of kept on par with the Romans. Kind of were able to actually not be invaded. They were one of the few countries I could think of that weren't really conquered like that. So that's interesting. And they had their own thing going on. Most regions of Africa worshipped their own pagan deities and developed whatever surrounding regions kind of took their religion and either it was casted upon them or they took another colonial empire and adapted that religion and whatever. In the case of the Ethiopians, since the proximity to more towards Egypt, they went with a Coptic thing. I mean, there was, but if you look at the dress, especially the mosaics and frescoes and Orthodox churches in Ethiopia, they look like Byzantine frescoes and stuff. Like I said, there was a lot of trade going on. So, but given the the distance still, you know, that kind of brought them together in a sense too. So the Ethiopians would you know muster up some troops to protect trade routes, interests to the Byzantines, and they would keep that alliance going. Um, so now we come to the the Kingdom of Macaria, which is a little further south in Ethiopia. There were obviously people of Nubia, Sudan, etc., etc. I wrote down notes actually. If you see me looking down, I just want to not get my facts all messed up. So yeah, I think it's cool. Whatever. A history buff, sue me. Um, yeah, so same thing. Like I said, they were kind of developed in the 5th century, and I guess it wasn't until maybe a few years after that they kind of started getting missionaries from the Byzantines. It didn't really I guess hook, line, sinker them yet. They were kind of stuck in their ways, but gradually over time, I guess they saw prosperity, or I guess just wanting to kind of fit in maybe, but yeah, it definitely developed into their own thing. So the Kingdom of Macaria. So when they did convert to Christianity, it probably was Greek Orthodoxy in the beginning, and then, like I said, being kind of a little closer to Egypt, Ethiopia, they settled for Coptic. What gets me is this, little country in the middle of the desert between Egypt and Sudan, spoke Greek. They dressed, had a very royal appearance to them. In fact, I'm gonna give you guys a link downstairs so you could check out what I'm talking about. Um, yeah, impressive. I already know there was tons and tons of tribes that were well developed. You even count Carthage as being a real developed North African empire. But these guys, like their appearance, the church paintings, the church structures, all resembled definitely something that Byzantine would have made. You know, and I like that. I think that's cool. I think how they took or borrowed ideas, influences from this massive empire, and kind of made it their own thing. Um, so being allies, obviously with the Byzantines in a, I guess, like a proxy kind of way, since their distance, they couldn't really lend troops, or vice versa. But they promoted their ideals, yada yada yada, so on. Trade probably was a lot of that going on, and a lot of goods being sent back and forth. Um, so the enemies obviously being kind of like the odd man out. When you know Muslim caliphates started diving deep into Africa, conquering kingdoms such as Egypt, not Ethiopia, but the surrounding areas. They came across with the Kingdom of Macaria, and conflicts did happen. So you had these Christian Africans, and against these Muslim caliphs, and they won. The Kingdom of Macaria kind of pulled through and defended themselves, and I think with that kind of made them stand out. Like, wow, this kingdom we barely knew about just won a great battle with fighting against the biggest kids on the block at the time. Put it that way, and like I said, that right there earns it some kind of praise. But the aside from the customs, the dress, the religion, I guess just how they carry themselves, very very Byzantine in appearance, and really good with bows. I heard many of the battles I heard against the Caliphate armies. Um, a lot of like I said, the Muslim soldiers would come back with bows in the eye and stuff. It was brutal. And like I said, kind of impressive. When you hear about this, it's like finding like a lost kingdom, and then you realize that they're not like some underdeveloped tribe, but they're actually like really sophisticated, which I thought was kind of cool. Uh, yeah, even like the church structures, like these like rounded kind of dome churches that once again would fit in like southern Italy, or Greece, or Asia Minor at the time, places like that. To find that in such a far off land is like, wow. And that's what kind of made me kind of deep dive into this empire. Um, so yeah, as time went on, obviously that winning battles drew a lot of attention, trade drew a lot of attention, and the newer kids on the block, the Ottomans, the Turks, conquering land in Africa. Uh, I believe it was uh, an Egyptian coalition that was being backed by the Ottomans. Eventually took hold of the land, um, and so basically introducing. I'm not sure it was by them generally, but I know as time went on, they embraced other religions. So you had this mix kind of in this in the kingdom of Macaria. You had like Muslim rulers, people, Christian rulers, and people that followed them. So, and as time went on, as their state city kind of declined, it would be like a seesaw, pretty much. A couple months it would be a Muslim ruler, a couple months it would be a Christian ruler, and it kind of went back and forth. Um, like I said, I'm gonna leave you a link if you want to know the names of the kings, what they look like, all that stuff. So I know I'm only covering like a real brief material, but I don't want the video to drag on too much. I want to give you kind of like a brief summary. Um, but yeah, so around the 15th, 16th century is when they started crashing and burning. And at that time, they pretty much got, absorbed by the, you know, uh, Turkish, Ottoman contingents in Africa. And probably the other Muslim, I don't want to say empires, but, Muslim tribes that were stationed in Africa also kind of had their piece of the pie too. And Macaria kind of faded out. But to this day, you can still see, the frescoes, the church art, because they made their churches kind of like if they were like cut into rock and make it like that, as opposed to being built up like by bricks. They just cut like one piece of boulder. They just made this domed church, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I was pretty impressed. Everything from how they dressed, acted, the architect was definitely Byzantine influence, and just it's pretty cool seeing how far uh, the reaches, the vines of the Byzantine Empire, um, not in a hostile manner, but as just sharing a culture, and that culture taking that and adopting it and making it their own. That's being, uh, engineer, intuitive. Just, engineering your own thought instead of reusing the same thing. You take something, you twist it around, and you kind of make it your own. And there you go. But definitely the influence is there. All right, guys, I'm sure you had enough of me babbling. So yeah, that's my little brief summary of this kingdom I just discovered, Macaria. Once again, if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of like saying it how it's spelled, and you'll get what I'm saying too. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. Uh, Hope you learned something new, and that's all I gotta say. So until next time, guys, stay healthy, be friendly, and be safe, and open up a book every now and then. I think we should do more of that. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Peace.